Hello, it's Mike here from musicradiocreative.com, where you just caught me at the end of a 30-minute editing session. I've taken out the boring bits so you can just see the meaty bits of me creating a Halloween sound effects demo. Take a look. Hello, it's Mike Russell here from musicradiocreative.com. I'm going to make a short demo for a Halloween sound effects package that we're putting out this year in association with Big Fish Worldwide, and I just wanted to show you exactly how I'm going to make this demo from start to finish. Now, obviously, some bits will take a little longer, so I'm going to speed up those sections of the video so we can keep it nice and short and concise. So let's start with Untitled 1. That's the voiceover session I've just done with all of the elements that I want to include in the demo. So I'm just going to go through and clean up the silences and edit out any mistakes from this session before saving it. Okay, so there's the session cleaned up. Basically what I did is edit out any dead space, any cuts that I did wrong or made a mistake on, so I've just got the content I need, and I've tightened it up nicely, cut off any clicks and pops, so everything is ready to go into production. So I'm going to save that right now onto my hard drive somewhere. Let's put it into, here we go, demos, and we'll create a new folder, Halloween sound effects, like so. And I'll just call it Mike VO, and then save that. Okay, now that's saved, we'll go into the multitrack session, and again I'm going to create Halloween sound effects as the session, and I'll save it into my wonderful demos directory. Let's find that on the Mac somewhere, and there it is, and then I'm going to go into, there it is, and Halloween sound effects, and I'll save it right bang in there and click OK. Now I'm going to drag that voiceover session I just created and tidied up into the session. Here it is. And I'm first of all going to go through the session and just play about with it and maybe do some effects in advance before I start mixing with the sound effects and music beds. Let's have a listen through. Halloween sound effects. That's fine as it is. From Big Fish and Music Radio Creative. That's cool. Spooky beds. 8 spooky music beds. Spooky beds. Okay, what I'm going to do with that bit is I'm going to copy it and make it a little bit demonic. I'll show you how. Let's start a new file here and paste just that audio in. Spooky beds. Okay. Spooky. Now I'm going to take spooky, I'm going to go into effects, time and pitch, and I'm going to go to my stretch and pitch process, and I'm simply going to go through. There you can see the preview editor has come up in the bottom area now. I'm going to raise the pitch of this a little bit, okay? So notice when I raise the pitch, it doesn't affect the duration, it just affects the pitch of the audio. Let's apply it. Spooky. Just what I wanted. And then for the beds bit, I'm going to go to time and pitch, stretch and pitch process, and I am going to, you guessed it, lower the pitch. Again, no change in duration, just pitch. Beds. Wow. Makes me sound awesome, doesn't it? That's so cool. Right, so spooky beds is going to sound weird now. Spooky. Beds. Wow. Okay, let's save that, because that's quite a cool effect. I like that, and I'm going to call it just Spooky Beds. And notice that Adobe Audition remembers the directory I'm working in, Halloween sound effects, so that's cool. That all goes in the right place. Into your multi-track, and let's find the audio file that I just had a mess with, Spooky Beds, and match it up there with the top Spooky Beds. Try and get it as bang on as I possibly can. Have a listen to this effect. Spooky Beds. You see where I'm going with that? So that's one effect I'm doing in advance. Next, we'll go on. 20 frightening effect. Drones. Screamers. That's all cool. And more. All right, now, I think the and more and me laughing here. It sounds a little bit weak, especially the laugh, and I recognize that, so I'm copying, and I'm starting a new audio file. I'm going to paste that, and I think actually what I'll do here is go into time and pitch, and I'm going to use the pitch bender. Now, this is a new feature in Adobe Audition CC, and what you can do is set that to default. The blue line there, you can actually drag it down a little bit so that it kind of basically bends the pitch down and down and down and down and down and down and down like that. So let's just preview that now, see how it sounds. And more. Now, you know what? That may well be a little bit too much. I don't want to over egg the pudding, so let's just move that up a little bit. And We can go a bit nuts on the laugh. I mean, we can make it really stupid and, you know, like the laugh at the end of the Thriller track.
And more.
Okay, so it's silly enough to give you the idea of the effect I want to achieve there. So again, apply, and I'm just going to save that again, call it and more laugh. And that's ready to rock and roll, and in fact I'll go and find that, and I will drag it in advance. And I'll chop out the original because I won't be using that. I'll be using my edited version. Just check the end of the voiceover session.
Halloween sound effects. Halloween sound effects. Order online now at musicradiocreative.com.
Notice I was a little bit creepy at the end of that, and I'll show you why when I finish producing this demo. But first of all, I'm just cutting out the whisper here.
Halloween sound effects.
And I'd like to match it up with this whisper. Notice it doesn't quite fit. Look at that. It's not going to be bang on because, unfortunately, I whispered a little faster than I spoke. So, I'll just play it to you now.
Halloween sound effects.
No, it's not sounding good, is it? So, I'm going to put the whisper there. And then, just using this triangle here, if you can't see it, click the clock button here, toggle global clip stretching, and you can just pull this in. Look at how smooth that is in Adobe Audition, and you can just get these clips matching up nicely, so it sounds like I am a true pro. Let's have a listen.
Halloween sound effects.
That's cool. I think the whisper is a little overpowering, so I'm going to take it down in volume by dragging this yellow bar up and down to change the dB.
Halloween.
Still strong.
Halloween.
Still strong.
Halloween sound effects.
Okay, that's better. I can do other silly things like use the blue bar, and I can pan from left to right.
Halloween sound effects.
That's actually quite cool, isn't it? And that just gives another effect at the end. Now, I'm going to add some more effects, but this time inside the multitrack, so not destructively, as I was doing in the waveform, but non-destructively in the multitrack. I often get asked, when do you do destructive and non-destructive edits? Well, this is an example of how to do it. So let me go ahead and add my sort of master preset, if you like, to track 1, which is something I just call processed here. And it adds dynamics processing, graphic equalizer, and studio reverb. And you've probably seen how to set those up in previous videos that I've released. Let's just have a listen now to, well, perhaps the end.
At musicradiocreative.com.
That's really cool. It gives it a really big, huge sound. Let's maybe up the reverb, because as this is going to be a Halloween demo, I do actually want reverb to be a big feature on the voiceover, because it's also very spooky, isn't it, if you've got a lot of reverb. What will 38% do, I wonder?
At musicradiocreative.com.
Perhaps a little overpowering. Can't really tell until we've got the audio in there, but let's bring it down to 26%.
At musicradiocreative.com.
Okay, so we are slowly getting there now. You might find that once you've added the effects on here, you're going to need to do it on track 2 as well. So let's do processed here. Check my destructive effects.
Spooky beds.
And here.
Halloween sound effects.
So that's all working quite nicely. I might just pull the track 2 down a bit. And actually, I'll pull track 1 down a bit too, just so that we're...
Halloween sound effects.
So we're not hitting the roof of the audio, and we've got a little bit of leeway to work with. So minus 3 dB on both.
Halloween sound effects.
Sounding much better now. Right, I'm probably going to use track 3 and 4 to put in all of my audio, but I'll want to use maybe track 5 and 6 to do some other strange and bizarre effects. So again, as you can see here, I'm adding my normal process preset to beef up the voiceover, and I'm going to bring that track down to minus 3 dB, and also this one down to minus 3 dB. On track 5, I'll add something that I like. Perhaps I'll add a little bit of... let's go for modulation. There's always good stuff in modulation. The chorus, quite like the bass chorus, one of my favorite presets. I'll show you how that sounds by dragging this voiceover down to it.
Halloween sound effects.
There you go. Do you know what? I'm not sure if that's spooky enough, so I'm actually going to have a mess with that. Let's go into chorus, and we can just play with it a little bit until we get something a bit more Halloween.
Sound effects.
Let's bring this up.
Sound effect. Sound effects.
That makes it a little more stereo. Delay rate.
Sound effects. Sound effects. Sound effects.
Now we're sounding a bit more Halloween. What happens if we go all the way up?
Sound effects.
I always like to push the limits and see what it sounds like, but I think around 2 Hz is going to be good.
Sound effects.
Take the feedback up.
Sound effects.
That's cool.
Sound effects.
Bit too much.
Sound effects. Sound effects.
Okay, we're sounding good there. Take the spread up.
Sound effects. From sound effects.
Okay, that's really spooky. Modulation depth.
Sound effects. Sound effects. Sound effects. Sound effects. Sound effects.
That's going to sound good at that level. And modulation rate.
Sound effects. Sound effects. Sound effects.
Okay, I think we're doing really well there. So you can see when you've got a preset in Adobe Audition, you don't have to use it as is. I encourage you to go through and play around with the dials and the controls. Just keep playing with them, playing back your audio and seeing what they do. It's the best way to create a brand new sound effect that maybe nobody else has used before. So there's my opener.
Halloween sound effects.
Quite cool, isn't it? And then we'll go on to track 6 finally, and let's add another sound effect. What shall we go for this time? I quite like, actually, the phaser, and this is an effect that I don't actually use that often, so I think it's going to be fun. Let's go for landing lights and see exactly what that does on this section here of the voice.
Spooky beds.
Okay, it's not as strong as I'd like. Let's try this.
Spooky beds.
Okay, that's quite spooky because it does sort of echo around my ears, which I like. So let's just have a little play here.
Spooky beds.
Okay, intensity, I'm going to keep that high.
Spooky beds.
And the depth.
Spooky bed. Spooky beds. Spooky beds.
And to be honest, the more I play with that effect, the less I like my changes. So I'm actually going to leave it as is. Now I've got everything set up. So I've done the voiceover session. I've cleaned it up. I've pulled it into the multi-track. I've then taken some elements that I want to destructively edit, which were these two bits here.
Spooky beds.
And this bit.
Halloween sound effects.
I've also added my processing to all of the voiceover channels, so that's track 1, 2, 5, and 6. On track 5 and 6, I've added some custom presets so I can change the voice throughout the demo, and tracks 3 and 4 I've reserved for audio and sound effects. Now it's time to go forward and create the Halloween sound effects demo. I will speed some of my editing up, but I will stop it and play back sections that I think are important for you to hear. Okay, so here I've just created the intro, and what I've done is I've put in one effect to set the mood and start off the demo. Then I've pulled in a music bed, matched up Halloween sound effects twice for a double effect, and popped in a little pad when I say from Big Fish and Music Radio Creative. Then after that, the bed's going to break down. I've made an edit there and play for a little bit, as of course the purpose of the demo is to show off the sound effects and music. So have a listen to how the start sounds.
Halloween sound effects.
Halloween sound effects.
From Big Fish and Music Radio Creative.
And then I'm going to put in another bit, transition into another bed, and so on. Now, two things I changed in that editing section. First of all, I slightly modified the chorus effect on the track 5 here, as I wasn't quite happy with the way that it was playing with the music bed. It kind of clashed a little bit, so I lightened it up just a tiny bit. And also I feel here you can't hear the s on effects, so I'm just going to take the volume control and bring it up a bit. Let's have a listen again.
Sound effects from Big Fish.
And I'll pull it down because it's a bit too strong now.
Effects from Big Fish and Music Radio Creative.
Okay, that's cool. So into the next editing section now. I just want you to have a quick listen to this transition I've created. Nice short, sharp transition, which is where I will put in this voiceover, and I'm going to pop it up here for the moment.
Spooky beds. Spooky.
And I ideally want it to transition on a beat.
Spooky beds.
So that's quite cool. Maybe I'll put an effect on it.
Spooky beds.
And that's where I'm going to transition into a new bed. That should be good right there. Let's do that. Transition into the next bed. Now I'm going to take my whisper here, maybe place it down into an effect area and have a listen to the transition on this.
8 spooky music beds.
And I can time stretch it to match with the bed.
8 spooky music beds.
Let's move that along a bit.
8 spooky music beds. 8 spooky music beds. 8 spooky effects.
And I wonder if that music bed there goes on just a little bit too long. So okay, that's when beat number 1 starts. So maybe we can cut it there and move that in just a touch. Okay, I'm not happy with that transition, so I might pull in an effect here. Okay, that's going to work nicely. Let's cut that first bit off. That's it. Perfect. And pull in this and see how it sounds over the top.
Spooky birds. Spooky birds.
That's pretty cool.
Spooky birds. Spooky birds. Spooky birds.
And there we're going to cut again, and we're going to go into some sound effects, I believe. Okay, I've just had an idea, especially after listening to this sound effect. I'm going to go in, grab that, copy it to a new file.
20 frightening effects.
And again, I'm going to, I think I'm going to actually echo it and do this. So I'm going to go add an echo on. I've got a mic echo preset that I've demonstrated in previous videos, which I quite like. And in fact, what I need to do is generate some silence here. So effects, let's go into insert silence. There it is. And we'll insert silence of about 10 seconds. Select that, effects, echo, add it on.
Effects.
Okay, and what I'm going to do is use the pitch bender here. Let's do turntable losing power, apply that. Watch what happens here.
Effects.
Not as fast as I like, so I'm going to do it again. Tighten that up just a little bit. And again, time and pitch, pitch bender, apply that. Still not quite as fast as I'd like it to be, so I'm going to drag that in a little bit. And that's the whole idea. When you're producing some audio, just have a play. See what sounds good to you.
Frightening effects.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to save that as FX down and put that into the multitrack now. Let's find that little bit of audio. FX
20
down.
frightening effects.
Let's try my best to match it up with the original here.
20 frightening effects.
Now I'm going to put another effect on this drones just to pad it out. When I've got various effects playing, it's nice to have some effects going on with the voice. And again, there's all sorts of stuff here. I'll need to, first of all, insert again some silence. If I'm going to put an echo effect on that destructively. Back into echo. And I think I will go for spooky. Let's try that.
Drones.
Interesting, not quite what I was hoping for. Maybe I'll put some treble on the echo. That might change things.
Drones.
Pull out some of the mid.
Drones.
That's exactly the effect I was hoping for. So let's first of all save it as drones echo. Pop that into the multi-track. Find drones echo.
Drones. 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 Screamers.
And once I've done that with the screamers, there is a great place for silence in this demo. So
Screamers. And more. Halloween sound effects. Halloween sound effects. Order online now at musicradiocreative.com.
Perfect. Okay, there it is in its entirety. I'm going to save that first and foremost. Should be doing that through my production so that in case Adobe Audition crashes, the Mac crashes, there's a power cut, you've always got your session backed up. And hopefully you don't have to go right the way back to the start to get your demo. So I'm going to mix it down. You can go into the multi-track menu here and you can go to mix down, or I've got it assigned to a hotkey, simply D. Okay, now you can see it. You can see the voiceover is quite a bit louder than the sound effects. I'm going to equal that out now and make it all sound perfect by going to effects. First and foremost, I'll go into special and a bit of mastering to bring up the sound. Subtle clarity I quite like. So let's apply that, and that will just start to even things out nicely. And the second thing I'll do is perhaps go into effects, amplitude and compression. I'll use the multi-band compressor, and something I really like is Pop Master, because this kind of crushes it down. Not great for broadcast, but when you're putting it on the internet as a demo or something you want people to hear at the consistent volume, Pop Master works quite well. Normalize it to the maximum, and let's play it back and listen to the full demo and see what you think. Let me know in the comments to this video.
Halloween sound effects from Big Fish and Music Radio Creative. Spooky beds. 8 spooky music beds. Spooky beds. 20 frightening effects. Drones. Screamers. And more. Halloween sound effects. Order online now at musicradiocreative.com.
There you go. I hope this video has been handy to you and you've learned something in the process of watching. If there's an effect that I skipped over too fast that you'd like me to go into more detail on, then please do let me know in the comments to this video, and I will do my very best to create a video especially for you about that effect. Any questions or comments, I always love them, and if you could like and thumb up this video, I would really appreciate it. Share it as well with someone who you think would find it of value. Thanks for watching.